Waterdeep, the city of splendors where unimaginable riches, adventures, and intrigues cast shadows over the greatest secrets of Faerûn. The enormous city is a colossal gathering of people and races from various locales. Diverse organizations find their representatives and sometimes even their headquarters here. The city is ancient, older than its own name. Before being known as Waterdeep, the city has had countless names in its history. A powerful elven kingdom from the past existed in this place, as did a mighty dwarven kingdom. And now, the human realm that rose in this land endures to this day. The city is built layer upon layer, over the ruins of the empires that once were, hiding secrets that still elude its inhabitants. Formed primarily by an enormous rocky yet extremely deep cove, Waterdeep boasts a wide bay protected by walls built among the rocks of the islands and islets that form in front of it, making the completely walled body secure from external threats. The city possesses defensive magical assets, forged generations ago, and maintained or expanded by wizards over the years. Among them, the most famous, the Colossus of Waterdeep. These colossal structures, akin to golems, but with the size of buildings, can be activated when the city is under threat. Despite its powerful magical defense, various structures in the city have magical shields and protections that safeguard them from magic and anything else that might threaten them. Waterdeep also maintains a competent and permanent professional guard, a true army of individuals dedicated to its defense. Over time, an elite group of warriors has been formed from this army, defending the city as a special corps of heroes called upon in times of difficulty. The city is grandiose, and its power is comparable, or even greater, than most realms found throughout Faerûn. Its ports are enormous, accommodating thousands of ships from different places. The city is the home and the starting point of our campaign. Here, the Veragon family has established its foundations, and here it strives to prevail amidst numerous other noble families that owe their power and status to constant vigilance and the battle for more and more influence. The city is once again under threat. Tonight, you will discover this. Beyond the bounds of Waterdeep's enormous walled bay, on an island atop a steep slope, stands the extensive fortress of the Bloody Cliff. This fortress records the entry and exit of ships in the city through the Naval Council. From atop the fortress walls, Captain Obrek Hightower observes the fleet of the Coast Guard under his administration, awaiting the arrival of representatives from House Veragon to discuss business. House Veragon, an influential merchant house with roots tracing back to an ancestral lineage from the Isle of Black Bones, has sought to strengthen ties with Captain Hightower, aiming to expedite the bureaucratic procedures for the entry and exit of their goods, which have led to unnecessary financial losses for the family. To our mercenary group, the Dragon's Lance, which is tied to the family's interests, the mission has been entrusted to deliver a gift, a box, to seal this alliance. While two of us, Ordep and Elissar, head to a port area in the city's suburbs to formalize documents regarding the counting of loads to be stored in warehouses. Dvorak, Auron, and this bard, narrating these events, crosses the canal in a medium-sized rowboat, heading to the fortress of the Bloody Cliff for the meeting with Captain Hightower. Dvorak Veragon was clad in black attire, gloves, and a long cloak, all adorned with an unmistakable ceramic mask that bore dragon-like features, reminiscent of those from Abir. With the hood over his head, only two ominous red gleams from his eyes were visible. Auron was heavily equipped with armor, sword, and his golden locks flowing in the wind. And I, Dart, carried a lute and had white powder on my skin to disguise my orc-ish blood. As members of House Veragon, we wore distinctive necklaces with the house insignia around our necks, whether over armor or any attire. This piece of jewelry served as a form of documentation, identifying us as family members on a mission. Each of these necklaces was personalized, meticulously crafted, and marked with the name of the rightful owners. Theft or misuse of these pieces was considered a severe crime, punishable by death. These were invaluable treasures, highlighting the bearer's nobility like an official document. On our way to the fortress, we embarked on a long journey to the port, boarded a light sailboat that took us near the islets, opposite the city. There, the sails were lowered, and 2 rowers guided the boat to dock at a small, rocky harbor. Countless stones surrounded the area, and the waves crashed violently against them. Even the calm sea near these rivers was extremely dangerous. We passed deadly reefs littered with old weapons, with marks of battles and wars, and saw swords embedded in the reefs and lost arrows. Upon disembarking, we followed a long ascent through a wooden staircase embedded in the rock, winding along the side of the cliff, gaining height with each zigzag. Finally, we reached a small stone plateau that provided access to a passage and another staircase, now ascending in the opposite direction. We passed numerous garrisons, some empty, others occupied, where the guards of Waterdeep remained vigilant and patrolled not only the external, but mainly the internal waters, monitoring the movement of each ship below them. After traversing a long path with various staircases, we reached the top of the cliff. We were finally faced with the fortress before us, a row of heavily armed and armored soldiers. Typical of the Waterdeep Guard, performed rhythmic and simultaneous group combat movements with halberds. We heard the voices of the soldiers as they carried out the movements rhythmically to exhaustion, indicating that they had been training under the hot sun for several hours under the watchful eyes of their commanders. As we made our way toward the door, we were once again interrupted, marking at least 3 interruptions along the way. One at the port, another on the staircase, and the last at the end of it. Upon reaching the entrance of the hall, we were interrupted again. We declared our purpose to the guards, and with that, we managed to advance to the entrance of the fortress. The massive double doors were open, but above us, a huge iron gate hinged on only one side extended toward the door. In a moment of invasion, this gate could be swung pendulously against those entering, covered with long spikes at least 30 centimeters in length, providing an unpleasant surprise for intruders. Just after the gate, we spotted 2 sentinels standing with heavy crossbows, and below them, on the stone column, discreet cuts revealed arrow slits, from where other guards were ready to shoot arrows at any attempt of invasion. After passing this initial guard, we entered a vast hall lavishly decorated with tapestries, shields, flags, banners, and details in silver and gold. Trophies and awards won by the guard, responsible for that fortress, adorned the walls. The displayed armor of retired veterans, marked by past battles, gave the environment an aura of austerity and honor. It was clearly a hall of warriors who had long defended the city with dedication. The atmosphere was oppressive, clearly conveying the message that this place was inviolable. As we crossed the hall, we noticed that several people were present, some of them approaching officers for their own matters. When we finally completed the crossing of the hall, we observed that some people were approaching us. We are finally greeted by Captain Obrek Hightower, a man with a mundane appearance, battle scars, and a trimmed beard, accompanied by 2 approaching soldiers. The 2 soldiers wore heavy plate armor. The captain, on the other hand, wore a breastplate covering a chainmail shirt and was draped in a gray cloak that fell down his back. A white fur surrounded the cloak around his neck, fastening it on the left shoulder. He carried a bronze shield on his back, displaying the emblem of the guard, and a helmet beneath one of his arms. He approached us with determination, extending one of his gauntleted hands towards us. "Welcome, Veragon," he said. "I see you preserve the softness of your hands," Auron replied with a mocking smile. "In fact, you're interrupting my dinner. Didn't want to soil them with fish," Obrek retorted friendly. Stopping for a moment, he looked towards Dvorak and me. Dvorak gave a slight nod of acknowledgement, and the captain returned the greeting in the same manner. When he greeted me, however, I could notice a subtle expression on his face, as if he had observed something in me. Nevertheless, he resumed the conversation, making it clear that, regardless of what he might have noticed, it was not relevant at that moment. Perhaps he had noticed the makeup I was wearing, but that wasn't enough to divert his attention from the matter at hand. The captain led the way, and as he passed the 2 soldiers accompanying him, they positioned themselves, raising their halberds to their chests and tapping their hands against their helmets, stepping back to the side. As we passed them, Auron made a casual comment. "Shrive those bellies, you scoundrels," but the knights maintained their impeccable posture without any response. The 2 soldiers resumed marching behind us at a close distance, keeping their halberds raised but comfortably. The captain led us to a spacious office where the soldiers immediately stopped and closed the heavy double doors. Standing guard outside, the commander went to his desk, filled with items and papers, and removed his helmet, placing it on a head-shaped stand. He indicated the chairs in front, and after we settled in, he sat down, opening a drawer to take out a cloth, wiping his hands after removing the gloves and placing them on the table. While he was busy with that, we observed the arrangement of the chairs in the room. In addition to the 2 in front of us, there were 4 more arranged in the corners, along with 6 more chairs around the walls. The room was lit by candles and indirect light that entered through the fortress's thick windows. These windows were narrow, facing downward, providing restricted brightness and a limited view of the surroundings. Nevertheless, we could perceive the presence of 2 to 3 windows on the exterior walls. The environment had a twilight aspect, creating a unique atmosphere in the room. In front of the commander's desk, there is a closed iron trapdoor covered by a carpet, which seems to give access to something downstairs. With 2 chairs in front of the desk, I choose to sit in the corner, remembering my dark vision, which allows me to see in the dark, while Auron and Dvorak head to the chairs in the center. As I sit down, I begin to observe the surroundings. Despite being a room in a fortress, I notice more elaborate decoration. Notably, next to the commander's desk, there are heavy curtains, even without a window to cover. These curtains bear the emblem of Waterdeep, and I notice they have a complex system of ropes, some of which seem heavy, as if they conceal chains capable of moving gears. Additionally, I spot suspicious bulges on the ceiling and walls, indicating the presence of mechanisms and traps at the occupant's disposal. We sit in front of the captain, and he watches us while cleaning his hands, silently waiting for us to start talking. Dvorak lowers his hood without removing the mask, revealing some of his deformities, which causes a slight discomfort in Obrek. The commander smiles amiably and expresses his eagerness to see what we brought, opening a smile as an invitation. Dvorak glances at Auron, and I signal to my lute, asking if I can play it. The commander nods, indicating yes. I begin to play a pleasant melody on the lute, diverting the captain's attention for a moment. This young man plays very well. I must acknowledge that he has talent. Obrek digresses. Well, and then, "Captain, we came to bring a gift from the family," Dvorak said with a hoarse and cold voice. "May this be the beginning of future relations, mutually positive for the Veragon, and for you." Auron places a gleaming black box about 1.5 meters in length and just over a palm in width and height on the table, handing the key to the captain with a bow. Then, stepping back, guided by his curiosity, Obrek lifts the lid of the box, revealing a beautiful silver blade adorned with the Hightower insignia. His eyes widen in astonishment, the appetite for gifts satiated. While more of an ornamental item than a durable weapon, this silver blade displays unparalleled beauty. Its decorative function is evident, mostly kept in this way on most occasions. However, though not designed to withstand the rigors of battle, it can be used as a real weapon, albeit with a considerable cost of wear. The blade, made of silver, glows notably, reflecting light in a dazzling manner. As the weapon is lifted from the box, it is possible to observe the care and satisfaction on the bearer's face as he examines the blade. Appreciating the artistic beauty and craftsmanship, he holds it carefully, absorbing every detail. More than just a weapon, this blade is a work of art reflecting the craftsmanship and refined taste of its owner. The doors suddenly swing open, forced by a battering ram. 3 heavily armored soldiers from the Waterdeep Guard burst violently into the office. A captain leads the way, while the 2 guards originally posted by the door seem to allow their deliberate entry. They slam their halberds against the floor, adopting a threatening posture. The guard, wielding a halberd, releases the battering ram, skillfully draws a sword, and points it in my direction. However, his eyes are already fixed on Auron at the same time. Dvorak looks surprised, but remains seated, discreetly glancing behind, noting the presence of the 3 soldiers. Auron seems to be trying to push away a weapon aimed at his face while swearing at his interlocutor. I, in turn, stop playing my lute, also surprised by the situation, as the soldier's blade lies threateningly in front of my face. "Halt in the name of Waterdeep!" shouts Kaulas. Obrek, initially startled with a pale face and wide eyes, quickly adopts an inquisitive expression, placing the silver sword on the table and pounding his fists furiously. He responds, "How dare you invade my chamber, Captain Kaulas?" "You were caught red-handed," retorts Kaulas, dangerously raising the point of the halberd next to Obrek's face. "I knew I'd catch you, you bastard. Now you'll have the fall of these towers much faster than you imagined." In a swift motion, Dvorak steps aside to the flank of the room, while Auron simply rises from his chair, defying Kaulas with a haughty posture. Kaulas tries to shove him, but Auron doesn't budge an inch. "Ah, how delightful," taunts Auron, wearing a smug smile. The captain of the Waterdeep Guard could execute him on the spot if he so desired, with no legal consequences, even though Auron is from a noble merchant house. Kaulas, however, takes a deep breath and shoots an irritated look at Auron for a moment. "Stay out of this, lad. There won't be another warning." "See? You just had to ask nicely." Auron shrugs and walks to the side of the table. 2 of the guards, who are still outside now, close the door, positioning themselves to prevent anyone from leaving the room, while the other 2 hold Dvorak and me at sword point. I closely observe the guard wielding the sword in front of me, noting his defensive posture. I remain calm and facing the threat, raise my hands innocently, as if unarmed and posing no threat. I try to convey an image of innocence, saying, "I haven't done anything, just passing through." The guard seems to relax a bit with my reaction. "Stay quiet. This situation is not about you. It's an internal matter of the guard," he responds. Obrek then speaks. "All right, Kaulas. It's been a long time since you've been after me. My surprise is that you finally stopped being a coward. I wondered when you'd decide to try standing on your own feet." He turns his back to Kaulas, walking over to the window, leaning against it. "I could throw myself out the window, ending the matter," he says. At this moment, Kaulas smiles, but Obrek continues, turning his back to the window and adding, "But I wouldn't miss this view for anything." Staring at Kaulas one last time, Obrek pulls a lever on the wall. A trapdoor opens beneath Kaulas's feet, exactly where Dvorak and Auron were sitting earlier, revealing powerful gears and swallowing Kaulas as he falls violently into the trap. He disappears as quickly as he entered the room, with the trapdoor closing again. The trapdoor is carefully marked within a carpet, and after opening, it closes in the same place, forming the carpet again imperceptibly. Kaulas's screams are completely muffled as he falls into the pit. In a tense moment, we expect an inflamed reaction from the guard soldiers, anticipating a quick move to contain the situation. Surprisingly, What happens is that the soldiers turn towards Obrek, give a brief salute, raising their halberds against the helmet, and leave the room, as if nothing had happened. Obrek turns his attention back to the guests. "Well, thank you, gentlemen. The present was well received," Obrek says casually until a threatening tone reveals itself in his voice. "I don't need to tell you not to mention what happened here, do I? Family matters." "We understand perfectly," replies Dvorak. After the shock and fear, I bid farewell to Obrek with a prank, planting in my mind the image of a beautiful carpet over the pit opened for my adversaries. Auron left admiring the commander. He wished he had said everything Obrek had said. For Dvorak, the mission was accomplished satisfactorily. For everyone, it was a lesson that in Waterdeep, everything is grandiose. Anything can take unexpected proportions at any moment. A glimpse of that was what we had just experienced. In the hallways up to the door, everything follows the strictest normalcy. Nothing was shaken, nothing was seen, nothing was reported. The soldiers who witnessed the scene and even the others who were close, with their closed helmets and visors, it is absolutely impossible to know which ones were participating and which ones were not in the scene. The way the soldiers reacted revealed that all the soldiers present were linked to Obrek, and that Kalas was lured to his fate in a well-planned manner. We imagine that this lesson is not only for Kalas, but a precious lesson and a message to be transmitted to the Veragon. When we left the castle, we noticed that the short time we spent inside had significant effects on the weather. The morning, which began with a sunny sky, many clouds, and ocean mist, is now transforming into a darker scene. A storm seems to be forming, and the winds are growing stronger. As we leave the fortress, we are surprised by a gust of powerful winds. The furious sea, especially outside the inner harbor of Waterdeep, crashes violently against the walls, creating a deafening roar like that of a dragon, spreading across all the fortresses lining the entrance to Waterdeep. The winds worsen, suggesting that a storm is rapidly approaching. Realizing the gravity of the situation, we understand that if we don't act quickly, we could be delayed by the storm, hindering our crossing. We hurry towards the boats, crossing a sturdy wooden bridge connecting the fortress to a rocky structure near the port. During the crossing, we have a spectacular view of the agitated sea and the Bay of Waterdeep, which, although furious, is less turbulent than the open ocean. A sudden and violent drop in the local lighting shows that dark storm clouds and vapor mists are eclipsing the sun above us. The wooden bridge sways in the wind, making the path unstable and requiring extra attention. Aaron and I keep a careful focus on our steps. However, Dvorak, seemingly less concerned about the risk of falling, is overcome by curiosity. As he crosses the bridge, he notices a strange movement in the turbulent sea of Waterdeep, violently crashing against the city gate. Dvorak's attention is drawn to a huge shadow in the sea, a blot that seems to be approaching the walls. This shadow cannot be cast by a cloud, since the sky is completely overcast. Suddenly, the water's surface reacts to the shadow as if something is emerging from the depths. We watch in horror as a terrifying titanic creature rises from the waters, projecting a violent wave as it emerges. The sight is terrifying because instead of flesh, armor, or bones, the creature appears to be composed of a metallic structure with long iron legs, a spider-like shape, and a gigantic central structure that connects them. Perplexity and fear set in as we face the imminent presence of this colossal, mysterious creature emerging from the tumultuous ocean. Hamanuh has arrived in Waterdeep,